The cameras were supposed to capture her triumph. Instead, they captured her humiliation. Amara Cole stood in the center of her restaurant's grand opening, her heart thudding beneath her chef's coat as murmurs rippled through the crowd. The banner above the stage still read Soul Fusion, where cultures meet in flavor. But tonight, all she felt was how cold the room had become. 3 investors stood in front of her tasting table, their forks untouched. One of them, a sleek woman with crimson lipstick, smirked as she dabbed her napkin. "It's interesting," she said, her tone sharp as broken glass. "But this isn't exactly Korean fine dining, is it? Too much spice. Too heavy. Too ethnic." Laughter, soft, cruel, spread among the guests. Amara's throat burned. "Ma'am, the concept is a blend of African and Korean flavors, grounded in tradition, but—" "Tradition?" the woman interrupted, arching a brow. "Whose tradition?" The question sliced deeper than a knife. Around them, her staff froze. The cameras kept rolling, and someone whispered what everyone else was thinking. She shouldn't have opened that kind of place here. The words hit her like a slap. Amara's hand trembled as she picked up one of the tasting plates, a small bowl of egusi jjigae, her heart in a dish, and held it out. "Please," she said quietly, her voice cracking. "Just try it." But none of them did. Minutes later, the guests filed out, their laughter echoing down the polished marble halls. When the last light flickered off, Amara sank to the floor, surrounded by plates no one had touched. Her dream, her mother's recipes, her late father's hope, crumbled into silence. She didn't see the black car that had been parked across the street the entire time. Inside, Yoon Seokjin watched her through the tinted glass, his jaw tight. The soft light from the restaurant cast her in gold, her trembling hands, her defiant eyes, her quiet strength against the cruelty of the room. He shouldn't have cared. He hadn't felt anything in years. Not since the day his body rejected food, taste, touch, life itself. But something in the way she lifted that spoon, something in the way her lips pressed against defeat and still whispered, "Please taste it." He pressed the intercom button. "Bring me that food," he ordered, voice low, deep. His driver blinked. "Sir?" Seokjin's eyes never left her through the rain-streaked glass. "The food on that table," he said. "All of it. Now." 30 minutes later, he sat alone in the back of his mansion. Lights dim, the city asleep. The plate sat before him, steam curling through the air like a ghost. For years, every meal had turned to dust in his mouth. But as he lifted her food to his lips, the world stopped. The flavors hit like lightning, rich, bold, alive. He tasted heat. He tasted grief. He tasted her. Seokjin's hand clenched around the spoon. For the first time in years, his pulse raced. His throat burned, not from the spice, but from something deeper, more dangerous. He closed his eyes and whispered, almost in disbelief, "Who is she?" The rain hadn't stopped since that night. It beat against the restaurant's glass like a cruel reminder, steady, cold, and unending. Amara sat at one of the empty tables, her apron still on though the restaurant had been closed for 2 days. Boxes of ingredients surrounded her. What was left of them? Her staff had already quit, the investors had withdrawn, and the food critics' words had spread like wildfire online. Unrefined. Unfit for Korean taste. A culinary mistake trying to sell emotion. She rubbed her temples, trying to silence the echo. She had spent years saving for this. Every paycheck from catering jobs, every tip, every sacrifice since her father died. And now, she had nothing left but debt and shame. Her phone buzzed again. A text from her best friend. "Mara, please come home. It's over." She started to type a reply but stopped when the restaurant door opened. No one was supposed to be there. A tall man stepped inside, dressed in black, water dripping from his coat. He didn't speak. His presence filled the space with quiet command. His face, sharp, hauntingly composed, was one she recognized from the business magazines scattered on her office desk. Yoon Seokjin, the CEO of YS Holdings. The man they called the Silent Emperor. He shouldn't have been there. Amara rose slowly, clutching her towel like a shield. "I'm sorry, we're closed." He didn't move. Instead, he set something down on the counter, a small, empty porcelain bowl. Her bowl. "You made this," he said. His voice was deep, low, the kind that made silence bend around it. She blinked. You tasted it?" For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, softly, as if confessing to a sin, "It's the first thing I've tasted in 5 years." Amara's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "I can't eat." He stepped closer, his eyes searching hers. "I couldn't. My body rejects everything. I lost all sense of taste until your food." It sounded insane. Beautiful. Impossible. She swallowed hard, her heart hammering. Maybe it was just coincidence. It wasn't. His tone sharpened. "Whatever you did, whatever you put in that dish, it woke something up." Their eyes locked. She felt it then, the strange pull between them. The rain outside softened, as if listening. "I want to invest," he said suddenly. Amara froze. "What?" "I want to buy into your restaurant." Her laugh came out hollow. "You can't be serious. Everyone's been running from me, not toward me." "Then they're fools," he said simply. "Because I've spent years surrounded by luxury, and all I could taste was emptiness until you." His words hung between them, thick and dangerous. "I don't need charity," she whispered. "It's not charity," he replied. "It's hunger." Amara's lips parted, but no words came. Something in the way he said it, soft but aching, made her pulse race. He slipped a card onto the counter. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. My office. Don't refuse me yet." Then he turned and walked out into the rain, his figure vanishing into the mist like a ghost. Amara stood frozen, staring at the bowl he'd left behind. For a long while she said nothing. Then she touched her lips, as if tasting the memory of his words. Across the city, in his penthouse overlooking Seoul, Seokjin stood before the window, watching lightning split the horizon. His heart hadn't stopped racing since he left a restaurant. His assistant entered quietly. "Sir, do you want me to cancel tomorrow's meeting?" Seokjin's eyes stayed on the rain. "No." "May I ask who she is?" He closed his eyes. "The woman who made me feel alive." When Amara stepped into the headquarters of YS Holdings, she instantly felt out of place. Everything gleamed. The floor was marble white, the air cold, the people colder. Her reflection followed her through the glass walls, black curls pinned tightly, a borrowed beige coat that did little to hide the exhaustion in her eyes. Every step echoed, too loud, too vulnerable. She shouldn't have come. She told herself that the entire elevator ride up. But curiosity, pride, and that strange, unshakable pull toward Yoon Seokjin had won. The receptionist led her to a private elevator that opened directly into a vast office overlooking Seoul. The city stretched beneath her like veins of light. Rain streaked the window glass, and in that reflection, he stood. Seokjin. Dark suit, no tie, sleeves rolled to his elbows, as though power itself had grown weary of perfection. His presence filled the room, not loud but absolute. He turned when she entered, and for a moment, the world went still. She expected arrogance. Instead, she saw hunger, not the kind born of want, but the kind born of deprivation. "Miss Cole," he said softly, his accent precise but rich. "You came." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "You didn't exactly make it sound optional." A flicker of amusement touched his lips. "Fair." He gestured for her to sit, but she didn't move. "If this is about buying my restaurant, Mr. Yoon, I should tell you, it's not worth saving." The investors left. The critics destroyed it. He stepped closer. "Maybe they destroyed the business," he said, "but not you." She blinked, caught off guard. "You don't even know me." He studied her, eyes slow and searching, like he was trying to memorize her. "I know the taste of your heart," he said quietly, "and I want to understand it." Her chest tightened. "You make it sound like I'm an experiment." "No," he replied. "Like you're a discovery." For a moment, silence filled the room. Electric, fragile. Then Seokjin turned toward his desk, pressing a remote. The large screen on the wall flickered to life, displaying security footage from her restaurant's opening night. Her eyes widened. "How did you?" "I bought the feed," he said simply. "Watch." The video played. Investors sneering, someone deliberately dropping salt into her stew pot, another whispering into a reporter's ear. Sabotage. It was all there. Amara's stomach twisted. They didn't just want you to fail," Seokjin said, his tone darkening. "They wanted to erase you." Her voice broke. "Because of my skin." He didn't deny it. He only looked at her, long, steady, with a quiet fury that made her breath hitch. "They'll regret that." "Why do you care?" she asked suddenly. "You don't even eat in public. You live in shadows, Mr. Yoon. Why risk your reputation for me?" He approached her slowly, stopping just inches away. "Because for the first time in years," he said, voice low, "I tasted something that wasn't poison." Their eyes locked, and she realized with a shiver. He wasn't talking about food. Something heavy hung in the air between them. Her pulse raced. His gaze lingered. The thunder outside rolled like a warning neither of them could heed. Finally, Seokjin exhaled and looked away. "I'm offering you a partnership, Miss Cole. 50-50. Your name, your recipes, my resources. Together, we rebuild from the ashes." She hesitated, her mind warring between pride and survival. "And if I say no?" His lips curved faintly. "Then I'll keep eating your food until you change your mind." It was meant to sound playful. It didn't. It sounded like a vow. That night, long after she left his office, Seokjin sat alone, replaying the sound of her voice through his mind. Each word left an aftertaste, bold, alive, unforgettable. He poured himself a glass of water, but the moment it touched his tongue, it tasted like nothing again. Only her food carried flavor. Only she did. And somewhere in the hollow silence of his penthouse, he realized it wasn't taste he was chasing. It was her. The city was alive again. A week after that meeting, the once empty Seoul fusion glowed with new light. Trucks arrived before dawn. Cameras hovered outside by noon. Overnight, the anonymous chef everyone had mocked became the woman the silent emperor had chosen. Inside, the kitchen hummed like a heartbeat. Amara moved between burners, sleeves rolled to her elbows, stirring, tasting, commanding. Stainless steel counters reflected the gold of the simmering oil. She looked alive again, though part of her wondered if it was life or adrenaline. At the edge of the kitchen stood Yoon Seokjin. No suit today, just a crisp white shirt, cuffs undone, tie forgotten on the counter. He'd been there every day, silent but watching, learning the rhythm of her hands, the language of her food. When she looked up, their eyes met through the steam. Something in his expression made her stomach twist, not hunger, not power, but need. "Why are you staring at me like that?" she asked softly, breaking the trance. He blinked once, the corner of his mouth twitching. "Because every time you move, you remind me what flavor looks like." Her laugh slipped out, nervous but warm. "You're impossible." "Maybe," he said, stepping closer, "but I'm learning." He reached for a bowl of marinade. The sharpness of chili, the sweetness of honey, the earthy scent of ginger. He inhaled like a man drinking sunlight. "Teach me this," he said. She hesitated, then guided his hand. "Gentle," she murmured. "Food listens to your hands." Their fingers brushed. The world contracted to that touch, the hiss of oil, the low thrum of rain outside, the pounding of her heart. He looked down at their joined hands. "When you cook," he said quietly, "it feels like prayer." "And when you watch," she replied, voice barely above a whisper, "it feels like temptation." The silence that followed was thick enough to taste. His breath ghosted her temple. She pulled back first, pretending to focus on the stove. Hours later, after the staff had left and the camera shut down, only the two of them remained. Dishes stacked high, aprons tossed aside. The city beyond the window glowed in bands of rain and neon. He poured them both tea. "You saved the opening," he said. "People are talking. They'll come tomorrow." "They'll come because of you," she answered. "Because the great Yoon Seokjin finally showed his face." He smiled faintly. And yet, I still can't taste this tea. Her gaze softened. Maybe taste isn't meant to come back all at once. He set his cup down. It came back with you. Something inside her broke and bloomed all at once. She wanted to thank him, to scold him, to run, but he stepped forward, slow enough to stop if she told him to. When his hand reached up, brushing a curl from her cheek, she didn't move. Amara, he whispered, her name a confession. Her breath hitched. We shouldn't. I know. The words hovered between them, fragile, trembling. His thumb traced the line of her jaw, lingering just long enough to memorize it before he dropped his hand and stepped back. Good night, he said softly, the restraint in his voice louder than desire. She nodded, her chest tight. When he turned away, she exhaled shakily, realizing her palms still smelled of chili and ginger and something dangerously close to love. That night she dreamed of him. Not his face, but his voice sang her name like a prayer half-broken by hunger. And across the city, Seokjin sat in the dark, replaying the taste of her food on his tongue, the warmth of her fingers on his skin. He knew obsession when he felt it. He'd built empires on it. But this was different. This wasn't control. This was surrender, one he feared he might never recover from. The rain returned with a vengeance that evening, hammering the windows of soul fusion like a warning. Amara wiped her hands on her apron, tasting the air. Something was off. Too quiet. The soft hum of the city outside didn't reach the kitchen. Even the ovens seemed to hesitate. Seokjin, she whispered, but the office was empty. Then the first crash came. Plates shattered in the front dining room. Her heart leapt into her throat. Footsteps, angry, heavy, deliberate, followed. He appeared from the shadow of the hallway, black coat soaked, expression hard, yet his eyes were hers. They're back, he said, voice low, tense. The investors. The ones who tried to ruin you, they're not done yet. Before she could respond, the door to the kitchen burst open. Two men in black rushed in, hands full of surveillance equipment and what looked like tampering tools. Amara froze. What do they want? They want to destroy you. Tonight, Seokjin said. But they'll have to get through me first. He moved like a shadow, strong and deliberate, disarming the intruders without a word. The first one went down to a sweep of his arm. The second fell with a quick flick of his wrist. She had never seen anyone move like that. Her pulse thundered, not fear, but something else. Something dangerously close to awe. He returned to her side, brushing rain-soaked hair from his face. Are you hurt? No, she whispered. I'm okay. Good, he said, his voice low, almost a growl. Because I'm not leaving your side tonight. The electricity between them flared like fire. Amara's hands trembled, not from fear, but from the intensity of him. She had spent weeks pushing him away, trying to focus on her dishes, on her dream. But now, watching him protect her with everything he was, she couldn't resist the pull any longer. Seokjin, she murmured. He cupped her face in his hands, his thumb brushing her lips. Don't speak, he said and leaned in. Their kiss was slow, deliberate, and aching. Not a storm, but a slow burn, like flavor unfolding in layers. She felt the strength in him, the restraint he fought to maintain, the longing he refused to voice. And in that moment, the kitchen, the rain, the shattered plates, the danger, they all faded away. When they finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against hers. I won't leave you, he whispered. Amara swallowed, heart racing. And I don't want you to. The next morning, the press swarmed the reopened restaurant. Cameras flashed, bloggers typed frantically, but Amara didn't see them. She only saw him, standing by her side, calm, grounded, unwavering. Are you ready? He asked softly. For what? To show them we're not afraid. To show them this, he said, sweeping a hand over the restaurant, is ours. Together. Her hand found his, fingers lacing naturally. Together, she echoed. Months later, the critics had changed their tune. The investors had been exposed for sabotage, their reputations crumbling. The restaurant thrived. And still, In the quiet hours, he would taste her food, not for hunger, but for the intimacy it gave them, the shared fire, the subtle confession in every bite. Seokjin never returned to the shadow of emptiness he had known. He had found flavor, desire, and finally love. And Amara? She had learned that sometimes the sweetest recipes came from risk, fire, and a man who refused to let her fade away. Epilogue. A gentle breeze carried the scent of cherry blossoms through the restaurant patio. Amara stirred a pot, her hands deft, practiced, her heart full. "Dinner is ready," Seokjin called from the doorway, holding a glass of wine, watching her with a mixture of awe and adoration. She smiled, brushing flour from her hands. "Then taste it," she said, and in his eyes, she saw the same hunger, the same fire from the very first bite he had ever taken of her food. He did, and this time, it wasn't just flavor that filled him. It was love, fully and completely. She laughed softly, leaning against the counter. "You still can't resist my spice." He smirked, stepping close, hand warm over hers. "I'll never resist you, Amara Cole." And under the glowing lights of soul fusion, with the city alive around them, they finally understood. Some flavors and some hearts are worth fighting for.